Welcome to the 331 podcast.
All right, good day everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 331 podcast, the platform that gets to interview some of the coolest people on the planet. Today I have not one, but two amazing guests on the podcast, two people who I've known my whole career, two people I've looked up to and admired since I started working for BC Ambulance. Love these two guys. Everyone, please welcome a couple of the best paramedics in the province, Kent McIvor and Dan Tyson.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the show, man.
We love you too, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's right back at you.
I love having you in my home right now. It's so great.
It's great. It's awesome.
I wanted to talk about, a few things. I wanted to talk about kind of like the beginnings of like Lillooet and what your childhood was like and some of the shenanigans you and Kimmy, your sister, got into when you were kids.
Yeah, for sure. Lillooet was a great town to grow up in. It's a small town, interior BC. My dad was a conservation officer. That's what took us there. So, growing up there, it's just a, small, tight community that, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Like
70s,
you didn't
right?
get into trouble like you did now. Like you were okay to be out at night. You came home when it got dark, like stuff like that. So a different time than things are now. No electronics, clearly, back in the day. So It was just a great place to grow up. And, my sister was 3 years older than me. So, we grew up out of town. So you kind of had to create your own things to do. And we just, it was just a really good place to grow up and to be kids. It was a good town. Yeah, I still go there. My parents still live there. So I go back there all the time. And, I don't feel like it's home anymore because I've been down here at the coast for,
Right.
gosh, it's hard to say the number, but 35 years. So, I'm a city mouse now. I'm not the country mouse anymore.
Do your parents still live in the same house?
So we moved there when I was in grade 8, so 79. So yes, they're still in the same house. But like an incredible thing, and I just talked to somebody about this. My dad built our other house.
Oh my
He built
gosh,
a panabode house, which is like a prefabricated thing. And it's like panabode logs. It's like made out of like 6x8s, and they're tongue and groove, and you put it together. You choose your design, and it just gets, delivered. I can remember the truck that delivered it had trouble getting it through the switchbacks, and it dumped some of the shit off of the truck. And I seem to remember the window in my room had damage on the frame, and it was from
the part that fell on
the window package that fell off. Took some hits in the dirt that it dropped into. But yeah, my dad in I guess it would have been 1972 or 3 over the summer built the house that we lived in for a time. So
that is so cool,
I give my dad so much credit because I barely can build a box of Kraft dinner. And he built a house. Yeah, so good.
It's amazing how many people have done that.
That
when you go into homes like on the job and it's an older home, and it's not common or not uncommon to hear them say we built it.
I built this. Wow. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah,
it's something that's it still happens, but not in my world. I don't know a lot of people that are that skilled. That are building a house.
It's been contracted out.
Pretty good.
Danny, what about you, man?
Pretty good.
I grew up in North Vancouver, so back in the 70s, North Vancouver, a little different than it is now. But I didn't have any siblings, but a lot of friends, and the mountain was my backyard. So you're always out there, just in the woods, in the creeks, the ravines, exploring, just out and about. It was pretty cool, and the way you got around to see your friends, because pretty widespread out. You had your bike. You had your bike to go see your friends. Go meet at the store, take your bikes to the store. That's how you knew everyone was.
That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
Right?
But it was like simple times. Like there was more communication with your friends and stuff because you were just there with them. Not like now, it's like electronics, phones, everything's so fast, and just like back then it was just kind of calm and mellow.
Yeah, you would just ride your bike to your friend's house,
Yeah.
knock on the door, and
I'm not really sure if I could survive the way kids have to now with information and technology.
Yeah.
Like it seems like that is way more daunting than anything I ever had to come up with. You know, the things that kids are privy to now and have access to, it's a lot. So I feel like they are like it's like they have to grow up with so much more information that I never had. You know what I mean? Like it just it's not the same. I give credit to kids that, make it happen and they're, well rounded and figuring it out in the face of all this.
Yeah.
Like it's
like my kids do a lot of texting, they can communicate and stuff like that. And we still try to encourage a lot of meetup so that they can do a lot of face-to-face play.
Yeah.
But we've been able to keep off the social media for now because we feel like that ends up just becoming too much of a rabbit hole. And we just want more natural. Like, and then we have kids over here, and it's one of those houses. It's a busy street, so people know they can just come by and they're welcome inside.
That's good. And then the friends and
exactly
what they're all about and stuff too. So
100%, right? What influences did you have growing up? Can't to become not just a paramedic, but just in general. Was there any sort of kind of role models or family members or anything that kind of steered you in that direction?
You know what? I honestly, thinking about that, I don't really recall anything specifically like that. That was oh, this person that I, knew was influential on me. My mom's brother was an influence on me because he was cool.
Right.
He was just this cool guy that, the mid 70s, he would have been sort of this free spirit that lived all over the world and did this stuff. So I just thought he was a cool guy. I don't really feel like anything influenced me because I never really did anything post-secondary. I went to Kamloops for a year at Caribou College, but I call it my lost year because, I was enjoying the sights and sounds of living on my own at sort of 17 and realizing I could get into pubs and enjoying hanging out with people. And,
as soon as
did I do a lot academically? No. So, my work life started after that year. And I can remember having the conversation with my dad because he said, what are you going to do sort of after working in the mill in Lillooet for, I guess it was sort of 4 months and it was coming towards September. And I said, I think I'm just going to work, maybe for a year, save some money, and then I'll decide. Because I was honest with him. I said, I don't know what I want to do or go to school for. And, as an 18-year-old would think, oh, my dad's full of shit. He doesn't know anything. He said, you'll never go back.
Right.
And I never went back. He called it because I started making money.
Exactly.
And, I moved out and I had my own place and, I wanted to play the drums. So I bought a set of drums and taught myself and moved in with friends I worked in the sawmill with. And we lived in a party house and just life starts to happen for a young man. But school went by the wayside and, honestly, I was okay to just go to work. My parents both worked. So as far as a work ethic, they really instilled that in me to be a worker and to make my own way and make my own money. And that's what I started to do.
Yeah, mine too. I think that's where I got my work ethic from.
See
my dad get up every day, go to work, regardless of the weather. He took the bus.
Both
parents, to work.
I mean, we came home from school and it's just the way it was. My parents weren't at home because they were working and, my mom worked till 4 in the hospital. She was a nurse. And then my dad wouldn't get home until sort of 6 o'clock. We always sat down to dinner. I can remember that being a thing all the time. But, my parents were just workers. So I was happy to start doing that for myself. And, you know, I don't think we ever really talked about that, but I'm sure my dad would have been proud that I was just, you know, not mooching off of him and got off my ass, got out of the house.
Yeah.
He was probably happy with that.
Yeah, I never wanted to be reliant on my parents for too long.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Was there a first aid event though that happened that got you thinking about medicine or early medicine?
I got a first aid ticket.
Yeah.
Working in the sawmill.
Okay.
And so it was my at the time my roommate and my sister. We all did the it was called industrial first aid.
Right.
So we did that. We all did the course, and you know, I started doing first aid at the sawmill. That was in '88 was when I got my first ticket, first aid ticket, and the gentleman at the mill who was the head first aid guy, his name was Jack Knight, and he knew that I got my first aid ticket.
Yeah.
So he said he was the unit chief of the station in Lillooet.
Okay.
And he said to me at the time, you know, oh, I see you got your first aid ticket. Why don't you come up to the station? I can hire you part-time as a paramedic. That's what you need to get in to start. And I was like, get bent. I'm working at this mill full-time, and I need to be able to party with my pals. I don't need another job.
Yeah.
And the irony is, like, that would have been 1988.
Yeah.
15 years later, I got hired into Boston Bar part-time as a paramedic in 2003. So I could have started a bit earlier, but, you know, my mind of, like, everybody's stupid and I know everything.
Eventually you got there.
Eventually I got there. But it was being a first aid attendant.
Yeah.
That's what sort of sparked it. And I enjoyed it, you know, and continued on with, you know, getting a first aid ticket, you know, which was good. We always did the course. And then even down here, when I moved down to the coast and working in sawmills here, I continued on with that and got first aid tickets, you know, throughout my mill career.
I was working at a bar, you know, the Flying Beaver in Richmond, right? The beef, right? So I was working there. That would have been 97, 98. And I was busting tables, and then all of a sudden this guy, like mid-afternoon, he just like collapsed off his bar stool, like just boom, just like syncopated out, or I don't know if he had a cardiac event, I don't know. But, you know, I remember I was the first one there, and it was the first time I realized, like, I have no idea what I'm doing, you know, like I was there beside him, and I could see that he was still unconscious. I didn't know if he was stopped breathing or what, but all of a sudden I was like, oh, now what? And then my friend Janice, she comes around the bar and she just shoves me out of the way, you know? And then she's the one that started trying to, you know, see how he was doing, checking his pulse, called 911, but then he kind of came to a little bit. I was like, whoa. And then after that, it really stuck out because I was like, I should probably learn some first aid because this might happen again. And I should probably figure out what to do next time. So that's how I kind of got going on those kinds of courses and looking it up, and, you know. What about you, Danny?
Well, I used to work in forestry, wildlife work, so I needed first aid for that because you're out there in the middle of nowhere with your pals, need to transport endorsement, be able to take them like 4 hours out of the bush if something happened. So I just had that kind of first aid, but we never, you know, I never really did more than, like, you know, you got a splinter or there's a tick stuck on you, how do you get that out? Nothing really big ever happened. I worked in forestry for years and years, like all over the province. And then it started to dry up a bit, or hard to find work in winter. It was all contract work mostly. So I was kind of thinking of other things to do, and I wasn't 100% sure. And someone mentioned, like, oh, you could be a paramedic or a firefighter. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I thought paramedic, I thought, man, you have to be like a doctor to do that job. That's what I thought it was like. But then my dad, he worked for the Vancouver Parks Board, and a coworker of his son was a paramedic. And back then, you could go and do ride-alongs. I guess you still can now, but it's a little more difficult.
It's different.
So, you know, I got to go on a ride-along with them and see what they did. And I'm like, oh, okay, it seems doable. Like, it's different for sure. And I kind of went and got the basic kind of level that you needed and other endorsements. And then I applied, and I got hired into Seashelt, or not Seashelt, but north of Seashelt, Pender Harbor. And but back then I was still just an OFA, and they hand you this ambulance. They're like, here you go. And you're like, really, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Like, it's back then they were going to train you in-house up to a higher level. That kind of stopped a bit, and they said, oh, there's this brand new thing called the PCP. We want you to get that. So agreements went through because we're already all hired with the ambulance service. They said, oh, okay, we'll pay for that course. And once I got that done, you're making no money in Pender Harbor, $2 an hour on a pager. By the time you for ferry, gas, food, no call outs, like you're throwing your money away.
Yeah.
So, once I got that, I lateraled out as quick as I could, made it in Squamish, which at least did some more calls, a bit more pay. But still, you needed other jobs when this was happening. So like I did so many other part-time jobs.
Tell me, which ones did you do?
I worked part-time hospital security.
Yeah.
So I started at, what's the best hospital to start after that? St. Paul's.
Right. Just throwing yourself into the fire.
Right into the fire.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's like, I'm not a very confrontational person. Like I'm pretty chill and mellow, but you met a lot of confrontational people there. But you had a good team of other guys to work with, which was super helpful. I did that. I drove a garbage truck and recycling truck for a couple of years. That was another thing. Because at that point, I was still part-time with the ambulance. I didn't know if it was going to be ambulance or firefighter. I kind of did both courses. I had both qualifications. I was kind of going to take whichever one came first.
Oh, yeah.
And in the end, firefighting was like just winning the lottery. It was like so difficult. I got full-time in the ambulance, and I don't know, kept with it. And I think it's probably better in the end. I think you have more fun. Just because I did paid call fire for about 6 years. And the ambulance is just more fun. It's just a little more, just you and your partner.
That's what I was going to say. I like that part of the job.
Yeah. There's no one telling you what to do. As long as you're doing your job and keeping your nose clean, you just go on with your day. So it's pretty easy that way.
It's fun, man. I mean, I tell people it's fun, and they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, how can it be fun? I'm like, because think of working 12 hours with your best friend, listening to music all day in the truck.
Yeah.
Going from emergency to emergency.
Yeah.
Nothing's different. And, you get to run into cool people all day long. Like, I love it,
Yeah, you meet some pretty cool people out there.
Yeah, man. Kent, how did your perception of the job change, like, for when you were thinking you were getting involved and when you started doing the job? Like,
well, I mean, I had no idea, I didn't know kind of the ins and outs. When I applied in 2002, and I had no idea because my parents lived in Lillooet. I could have got hired into that station day one because there's an address there that I could have been at. And so that would have been Region 3. I didn't know about that. I only applied for Region 2, which took a year. So I didn't get hired until 2003. And even then, I got I can remember going for the interview, and I had no idea about anything. I did the interview, and I can remember leaving, and my ex said, oh, how did that go? And I was like, I have no idea.
Well, the interview was the weirdest
it was
thing
so
ever.
weird.
Yeah.
Like their star-based questions or whatever it was, and I was just like, I
wore
had no idea.
I wore a suit.
Yeah, I was like, I was feeling like, oh, this is a big job interview.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So then I got a letter saying, okay, yep, you're hired. We've got a spot for you part-time in Boston Bar. And I thought, what the fuck are you talking about? I want to work in the big smoke.
Right,
I live in the city.
I was thinking I was going to work in White Rock right away.
I had no idea. So then, of course, I'm not going to say no.
No.
So I said yes. Okay, good. And then, okay, you're going to go up to Boston Bar for some orientation. And so I talked on the phone with a gentleman who was the unit chief at the time. His name's Mike Boyarski. And so I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, you're going to come up. We're going to do this thing for the day. We'll submit because you get paid to do this, and we'll figure some stuff out. We don't have any uniform for you, but then we'll figure out your schedule.
Right.
And so I had this picture of this grizzled unit chief. You know what I mean? I'm thinking the guy's my age now.
Some elder.
Late 50s, early 60s. And so then I show up to Boston Bar and, ring the doorbell. And so Mike is there, and he opens the door to let me in, and he's in cut off jean shorts
Right.
and wearing a tank top, and he looks like he could be a surfer dude.
Right.
And he's like, "Hi, I'm Mike," and I'm just like, and that was the first moment of like, well, I may not have any idea about what I'm getting into here. And I had no idea. I can remember some of the people that were there while we were having orientation. We were talking, and you know, they talked about the shifts, and I'm like, so you're up here and you're working for like 3 days straight? Like, how do you stay up? And I can remember he became a really good friend of mine after the fact. His name was Todd Standerwick, and he laughed so hard he just about fell off the couch because he said, "You're going to get so much sleep coming up here working part-time." Like, every question that I had, they laughed because it was such a joke, and I had no idea.
Totally.
And
I worked in Boston Bar too, man. I got skunked in my last 5 months up there. I didn't get anything.
Well, my first, it was funny, my first paycheck I collected only had some pager pay on it.
Yeah.
And my wife at the time, when I got my paycheck, she said, "Oh, you've made a really good choice." Because I got paid $43 for like 3 days of pager pay.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my gosh, am I really, what's kind of going on here?
I know.
And if that pager went off, man, you had a heart attack because you were like, "What is that?"
Oh my gosh, that thing would just squawk.
I know. I know. It took me like 3 years to get over that. Because it would go off while you were sleeping too, and it would be loud and buzz on your hip and stuff.
It's almost like a triggering thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And I can remember I worked there for a while and had done some things and done a few calls, but nothing heavy. And then I came down to the coast and I was doing some on-car stuff. I can remember it was 1 day attending and 1 day driving, and I did it with a crew. It was Bill McClellan and his partner. His partner was named Cam, and I can't remember his last name, but so we were talking about things down, and we had gotten sort of skunked on my attend day, so we were at 66 and just talking. And I said to him, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing, and you're down here working in the big smoke, and you got
totally.
You know, you're paramedics for sure." And he scared the shit out of me because he said, "Well, really?" He goes, "Yeah, down here, I've got ALS if I want to call them on the radio. I'm minutes away from hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
I've got full access to fire crews if I need them.
Right.
The police are there. I have other medics that I could call in. I've got all these resources." And he said to me, which chills me, and even to this moment, I'm chilled thinking about these words, "What do you have in Boston Bar?" And it freaked me out.
Yeah.
You had nothing. There was no fire that was going to come, a volunteer fire department. There was no cell phones. You couldn't connect. The radios were sketchy.
Oh, totally.
And like you were an hour away from any hospital.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You know, you're doing these calls and you don't have any resources." And I can remember going back to Boston Bar and being so scared for something to come in, realizing that, you know, you're in this sort of, you know, tiny little blip on the roadway going through the Fraser Canyon.
Yeah,
and
I remember
you're
that
doing
too.
Being a paramedic up there.
Well, and you have no experience yet either. So when the calls would come in, it was just so stressful to
It was always so great to do calls. Ironically, I just have done some cleanup in my house and I dug through some things. I have my first sheet with all the phone numbers of all the people that were there and like seniority wise. And like I'm at the bottom, the 4 of us that got hired. I was the oldest, so I was the top of the 4 that got hired.
Okay.
So all these people that are on there are all great friends of mine, and I've known them for all this time, that, you know, 20 years that we've been in the service. There's a name on there that's his name's Dr. Eric Vu.
Oh yeah.
He was attached to that station at the time.
Was he?
My unit chief after Mike Boreski was a woman named Sandra Jennison. That's Dr. Sandra Jennison now. So these people that I started off with, and like my first call I ever did was with Sandra, you know, but I would do calls with people that had this godly experience that I didn't have. And meanwhile, they were just doing their P1. They were barely through anything. But you just feel like somebody that's been in the game a little more has that, and you're looking up to them, and like, you know, I had no idea. So my first trauma I did there was with some experienced people, and it was the first time I'd ever seen somebody that has experienced trauma. It was a ATV accident, so like quite significant.
Mm-hmm.
And a chopper had to be called in. We were on the side of a mountain. It was, I think about it now, I'd love to have gone back and been like more experienced doing that call, because I'm sure I was just a huge pylon getting in the way. And the only thing that I could do was help carry this poor guy out, that physically I could do that. But yeah, doing these calls with, people that are like long friends now, but your first calls are always like, wow, I sucked so bad at doing whatever I did, and not even recognizing, this guy that's got like a pneumo and a hemo, and like his thigh is bending in the wrong spot, and he's a GCS of like at best 5, and it's like, so are these problems? Now we would recognize it as, yes, that's a problem. But at the time, I'm just like, how come he's not waking up?
Did you hit your head? Did you hit your head?
Are you okay? Yeah. Do you have any allergies to medicines? So really relevant things that, you don't know anything.
Danny, what are some calls that really stick out to you?
Oh man, calls that stick out.
Yeah, like not necessarily maybe in the beginning if you want, but like just in general, like calls that sort of stick out.
There's been so many calls.
You could tell them about an umbilical cord.
I went to a call for imminent delivery in a basement suite in Surrey. We always say what could go wrong in a basement suite in Surrey.
Everything.
But I was working with my partner then. He was just at a dispatch. His name was Jim Earl. And we go to this basement suite, and there's a lot going on. It's dark, and, there's some notes on our computer say the baby's already delivered.
Okay.
But the midwife's not on scene, so just continue on, make sure the kid's okay. I say, okay. We get into this place, and, I'm expecting to see, mom with a baby. But that's not happening. It's just like there's a ton of people in this place. It's dark. It's kind of dirty. There's some blood on the floor in the bathroom, and it's like, well, I guess that's where the delivery was.
Right.
And it's kind of like, where's mom with the baby? Like, there's a dude sitting on the couch. He's got no shirt on. I'm like, what's going on here? And someone said, oh, mom's over here. I kind of wave through the people, and I'm like, oh, the guy with no shirt. This guy's got a goatee, beard going on, flat chest, hairy nipple, and this baby's suckling on him. And I'm like, that kind of weird. And I'm like, okay. I don't know where mom is, but I'm like, okay. So I'm like, checking out baby seems good. And I'm like, oh, no, where's placenta? Like, we gotta wrap that up, take that with us if we're going to the hospital. And this person says, well, it's still inside me. And I'm like, what? And I followed the umbilical cord from this baby right into this guy's vagina. So this person was transitioning from woman to man.
Okay.
And the dad, who was also on scene, was transitioning from man to woman.
Oh, weird.
So it was very strange. It was like, I thought I knew my anatomy and physiology, but it's like, I'm just going to go with you are mom because the baby came out of you, but you don't look like mom, but okay. And it was just very strange. I looked over at Jim, and he was just like trying to type something in the computer, trying not to look around too much. And midwife showed up, and of course she knew exactly what was going on with the whole family dynamic situation. And it's like, well, baby seems good. Do you need anything else from us? And she's like, nope, we're good here. And I'm like, all right, well, we're out. We're gonna go talk about this.
Right, process what I just saw.
What I just saw. So they don't teach you that in the paramedic course when you're doing it.
Yeah, that's not a JI sim that you kind of go through.
No. Yeah. What year was that? Because was that years ago, or was that kind of?
Oh yeah,
it would have been
because
over 10 or 12 years. Yeah, ago. For sure.
Yeah, because now the language is a lot more open now, right? Back in the day,
they haven't done any of the new. I don't even know if like the LBGTQ Two-Spirit and all that was like a thing yet. Like, so
not as big as it is now.
Just not as big as it is now, for sure.
Yeah.
Ken, what about you?
There's questions even that I had. I wasn't even on that call. Yeah. We've talked about that so much because that's one of those ones that's like, wow. So a real sort of head shaker. type situation for sure. I'm not. I'm not really like. I mean, it's trying to remember things.
Like a flood of things.
There's so many calls. Like, I mean, I do say that this job, we kind of, we drag a lot of shadows with us, and some of them sort of are louder than others. But I mean, I don't specifically sort of upload, things like we've worked in Surrey for so long and we've seen so many different things in that environment. Like Surrey's a bit of a sort of a train wreck of, gang stuff and drug stuff and things used to carry more weight. Overdoses used to be this sort of a bigger deal call. And now because of like what's called the opioid crisis, which we had been, as you well know, dealing with for years before the media ever got a hold of it, they're so commonplace now. And a lot of times we're not even really doing anything because things are done and there's Narcan. Everybody has Narcan kits and everybody's sort of dealing with that stuff. So some of these calls that were big deals as when I was as a younger medic, that was like, oh, we did an overdose and like you got to bag somebody, you got to do all these things. And now it's,
you're doing 6 overdoses.
Yeah, like hold my beer. Like I'm not really, I don't get excited about that.
Well, and they would come to the hospital more too. I find that that's kind of a thing now, is that the feeling of, seeing the call through and then, taking care of this person, feel like, I'm going to, make a big difference here. But a lot of the time now they come up, they kind of care about overdosing, but they kind of don't sometimes. And they're like, I'm okay. And we're like, but you're not.
Even the people, like, I mean, it's the truth is that they were just high and somebody's given them Narcan, so they're not feeling great now, or they may feel sick and they may be upset. In Surrey, there was sort of this shelter, and the street was like the front room, but then this street would just, had homeless people living on it, and it was just, you would just do calls there constantly and multiple calls. Like Danny said, you could do so many overdoses in one call. Like there would be just people calling out. But there was a guy that was living there, and he was sort of a homeless guy, and we called him the Narcan fairy.
Oh, okay.
And like, so
he was like the first guy to kind of have.
And he carried it, and like they would, in this sort of encampment, somebody would yell out, Narcan. And before we got there, he would have already been there and given somebody, and they'd be coming around. Like,
that's really cool.
Basically have reversed things.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, he's gone.
Right.
Like he just slips off.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not even sure if I ever really knew his name.
Yeah.
I think I found out his name after the fact because I think he had passed away. He had gotten sick himself, and I think people were trying to raise money to send him back east to where his family was.
Oh, wow.
But I think it was too late or something, and, and he had just passed away.
Yeah.
But he was like one of these guys that was like sort of, part of that culture of the people that were homeless and living there. And he just kind of took it upon himself to help out and to like, carry this. Not everybody had it. And now it's so common that you get the Narcan kits from everywhere, pharmacies, hospitals, give them out. Everybody has them.
Yeah.
And it's almost created a dynamic where people aren't scared at all to, deal with hard drugs and to overdose. It's not really a big deal because they have no fear. Somebody's going to give you something.
Yeah. I have the same perspective. I feel like the fear of overdosing isn't as great anymore because everyone's got a Narcan.
Everybody's got it.
Even like grade 9 take your kid to work day, B. Samuels did it for the second year in a row, and like all the grade 9 kids got given Narcan kits, and we were like trained how to Narcan oranges. Brian Thwaites is like giving us little clementines, and we're like Narcan in the oranges, which is great. But I mean, so it's out there. It's out there of how to do it, and if your friend does, which is great. But you're right, that fear of it was it's diminished a little bit
for sure.
But it's kind of scary because it shows just how rampant the drug problem is.
It is,
right.
Everyone just has it,
right?
Well, he showed a video of like a magic bullet thing, and he put this like pink, like Himalayan rock salt in something, and blended it together, and then kind of laid it out. And you can see how some pink is kind of over here and less pink's over there.
Yeah.
And it was a good example of how, yeah, exactly, right. And pills get pressed or whatever, and like, oh, you take this pill, so I can probably overdose. You take this pill, look how much fentanyl's in this one. So you just don't know.
You don't know.
So, because I know, like back in the day, like drugs, doing ecstasy or things like that, you didn't worry about overdosing.
Nobody died.
Fentanyl. Nobody was dying. That wasn't
a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were worried of getting too high for sure, maybe doing something dangerous or being like an embarrassment to your friends, and then the night would be over. But it was never like, you better worry about you actually like dying.
Now it's like any drug people take, like cocaine or even marijuana or whatever. It could be laced with who knows what. It's like, you think you're getting this, but no, you're not. You're getting something.
Right. Roll the dice.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like
I think too, like I mean, what we see, like the hardcore users, they don't care. Like they'll sit in a classroom of first graders and be like, well, I got to get high, and they'll just shoot up right there. They don't care. They'll shoot up anywhere.
Right.
The people they're not going to die. Those people are never going to die because they're always around somebody. It's not truly the buddy system, but there's people, somebody's going to narc on you, it's whatever. It's the people that are trying to either kick a habit and they've had like a bad situation or a bad thing, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to chip away, and they're embarrassed about that, so they go and hide. You go into the bathroom or you go sit in your car in a parking lot and you're like, oh, I'm just going to have a smoke of it, or however you do it. And you never know what you're going to get. And maybe you've been off it for a while, so now you're more susceptible. Those are the people that we see that die from an overdose.
Yeah. It's
the people that are hiding and are embarrassed because of it. The people that don't care and that get high everywhere, it doesn't matter where they are, in a restaurant, outside a restaurant, in a crowded space. They're the ones that are more safe, which is sad that it's just through whatever fault it is, that if it's somebody that's trying to recover and they've had a bad day and they just decide, I'm just going to have a little taste, and it kills them. It's terrible. Or I can remember at the beginning of the opioid crisis, it was a couple in North Van, and they were just the kid, and they got the babysitter, and they're just wanting to have a good, like a weekend. So the kid's at a babysitter, and we're just going to, whatever they thought they were going to get, just going to do some coke, couple lines. It wasn't. And then they were found dead, a young couple. So, I mean, I think that like talking about like the world that people have to live in, that world of like, oh, maybe I just enjoy doing some drugs once in a while. Boy, that's a game of Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. And like you said, we could all be in a situation and get high, and we all inject, but you get the good brain
the high
of fentanyl, and we're all high, and we're just passed out, going, oh man, I wish I had some nachos or something. And we're not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
But when we finally get our shit together, we're like, hey, Chris, what the fuck? But it's totally ripped you a new one.
I mean, I lost a couple friends a couple years ago because of that, like one overdose. His girlfriend went to bed early. She woke up. He was found dead on a couch in Calgary. And then in the same situation out here, my buddy Greg still did some lines on the side. He thought it was okay. Didn't get it tested. He was talking to a friend on the phone, and the friend just thought the line went dead,
Wow.
And Greg just done. And then his wife was inside, comes out like hours later to like see him in the garage. He didn't come in yet.
Yeah.
There was nothing he could do.
And that's all that's such a common tale that you're just
they both weren't like smoking fentanyl or injecting fentanyl. They were both doing something that they
thought.
Yeah, they thought, and it cost them their life.
And like the whole thing of like testing, I can remember that being a thing where they would say, oh, bring your drugs in and we'll test it at the hospital. Yeah. And I never met anybody that's going to do that because you have a finite amount. You're not going to like give up some of it.
And we'll be right back after a short message. Me and my family went to the Grand Serena's Hotel, and this is why you should go there. Fantastic drinks. Number 2, amazing ocean. I want to go there still to this day. And number 3, a monkey almost pooped on my grandma's head. This is why you should go to the Grand Serena's Hotel in McIvor, Mexico. That's too hard, Dad.
And now back to the show. How do you guys maintain focus on high pressure calls? Techniques?
I don't know. I think because we've been partners for so long, like we have a real, like, good technique.
Yeah.
We just kind of, we're a team that goes in, and like things can be.
You kind of run through your patient assessment, but it's just like, what do I have to fix?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, they're not breathing. Okay, let's breathe for them. You know, well, they don't have a pulse. Well, let's start giving them a pulse. I mean, those are kind of the biggest calls, right? Like everything else, like we just kind of know how it's gonna roll for the most part.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this person has a fractured hip. Okay, I'm gonna get this stuff. You don't even have to tell me what you need.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go get it, and we're gonna deal with it. And yeah.
What about in the beginning? Did you sort of learn some techniques?
In the beginning, there was calls where I was like totally freaked out. Like my biggest freak out call was cardiac arrest. I was like, oh my god, cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
I get like kind of stressed out of it. But now I realize that's like one of the easiest calls.
Yeah.
For a BLS crew, ALS, they got to do a bit more. But for me, it's like, well, can I breathe for them? Can I do some CPR? Can I start an IV? Yeah, that's kind of where it ends for me.
Right.
And like, unfortunately, like this person's already dead. You're trying to bring them back, and you just try everything you can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just start with the top problem. Where can I fix? Am I stuck on A for a long time? I might be. Depends what's happening. But
well, it's the most important part. So I get stuck on A too. At least you're managing. I mean, the person's not dying because you got the air there. So,
yeah.
I think it is like that. Like, I mean, you know, your process, you know, it's sort of ingrained, and it's just one of those things where you just kind of start at the top. And like, I think that's the biggest thing where you get tripped up is when you're kind of jumping around. So the easiest way is to just go through that, you know, sort of process of like, is there a good airway? Are they breathing? No. Well, you're not really jumping too far from there.
Right.
And then, you know, if it is, like Danny said, a cardiac arrest, now it's sort of, you know, we kind of know which way it's got to go. We got to do some ABC stuff. And like, we don't have the, you know, ALS, you know, they got to go through a lot more. Like, I mean, they've got to start thinking about what meds they're going to give. They got to think about intubation. They got to, you know, all these other things that's not in our scope. So, you know, once we're doing A, B, and C, let's stick with that, because it's probably not going to work out. It'd be great if it did.
Well, we all have our role, right? You know, I get a lot of appreciation from the higher levels, because if you're managing the ABCs and you got your primary down like really solid, and that allows them to come in like, oh, okay, scene's not chaos, it's not a shit show. They got this, you know, they got, you know, the times down, and then now they can kind of calm down. They go in, they start thinking about intubation, they start getting, you know, epi drawn, whatever.
Danny's the airway master.
Yeah.
he gets like, when the B is happening and he's bagging somebody, you know, he's just a fucking champion. He just gets hunters down there and he's just dealing. Yeah. And like, you'll sit there for fucking half an hour, 40 minutes. Like, he just does.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And like, I'm saying, oh, you need a break. You got to get out of there.
Right.
Nope, he's good. And like, you know, good shape. And like, he can just sit there and he just does it. Like, I mean, and there's no question. That's the beauty of it. Whatever I'm doing then, if I'm helping ALS or I'm trying to get an IV, I know A and B is happening. Whatever airway's in there and they're being bagged, there's no question. Yeah. So, like, I mean, you know, so like in my career, I've been so lucky to work with some of the greatest people consistently. You know, I was temped with a really good guy in Maple Ridge, Mark Patrick, you know, when I was still E-Reg. But then my first reg partner was Alex Worry, a great medic. And then at 49, we both went to 49 around the same time.
What year
together.
was that again?
Ooh.
So like I think 2013.
Okay.
Because like my first reg spot at 46 was 2012, and then sort of August of 2013 was when I went there. And I was with Pierre Cote. He was my first partner, and he's another champion, like a great medic.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've been super lucky. And then Danny and I have been partnered, like, honestly, I think it's almost 10 years.
11 years.
It's maybe even more, like, you know, so
the time just flew by.
Yeah.
As far as that, you know, this guy's like not like my brother. He's my brother.
Yeah, right.
So like these calls that we do in these situations we go through, he's been with me through, you know, sort of the darkest periods of my life. So then just to be a paramedic together with him also, you know, this job, it's all about your partner. This job can be crazy, but if you're sitting beside somebody on the regular that you have a good time with, we laugh, we make jokes, our back and forth in the car is, if you want to record something, there would probably be only a couple of people that should hear it.
Right.
You know,
right.
like, I mean, it's very personal and like it's us.
Yeah.
But as far as like getting into an ambulance with this cat, there's no fear. And I've got no fear about anything that's coming, because as far as like a team, you know, this is my Superman is sitting right here with me. So I'm okay. Whatever's going to happen, I'm okay. And like, I mean, I've been dealing with some stuff, and like Danny's been beside me the whole time for things. So, I mean, like I said about dragging shadows behind us, maybe I'm dragging a few more right now. And, you know, I miss working with them because I've been off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the partner dynamic is everything. And then the calls are sort of secondary, because as paramedics, if somebody from the outside would hear about the calls, like the umbilical cord or any sort of major traumas or situations that we've been in and dealt with, when we tell it to paramedics, we say, oh man, that's cool.
Right.
But somebody from the outside would be like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, how are you guys managing that?
Yeah.
You know?
We've all been there, I think, when it, like, got some paramedics chatting about calls, and then you got some people that don't do the job, and they're looking at, like, we're laughing, they're not laughing.
No.
You know, and I've always said, too, like, somebody's, like, worst day, like, ever, is some of our best calls.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because even though, they're mangled up, and, you know, you got to work hard to, like, you know, get this person's life to the hospital or, you know, revive them, whatever. And that's a great call, because you feel like you're making a difference, and that you do make a difference. It's a great feeling. Happen. But that person on the other side is just, it's the worst day they've ever had. You know?
For sure.
You know?
For sure. I find that a big loaded question is people from the outside ask, and like every paramedic gets asked this all the time.
Oh, right.
Oh, so you're a paramedic. Like, I could never do what you do.
Right.
It must be just blood and guts all the time. What's the worst thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, I mean, I think for a long time, that question, I would be just like, all right, well, I'll unpack something for you because you want to hear something crazy.
Right.
And then I started flipping the script and be like, so you want me to relive my worst thing that I've ever dealt with? And then now I've flipped it in my mind anyway to, well, I don't really know what you think is bad.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you what you think is bad, I don't. And what I think is bad, you don't even think about. And like mine, and always now I find more, maybe it's because I'm older now, but it's the situation that we run into in these. Lots of situations. And like, those are the things that hit me harder than anything. Trauma is what it is, and it's awful. And when people get hurt by one way or another, it's terrible, and families get affected, and it's awful. And, you know, death is final. We can't get away from it. But I find that the situations that we get led into, that if you didn't go into this house because somebody called 911, you wouldn't know what's going on in there. So we're privy to that. We get to go into these homes or places, and, you know, somebody that's just not making it happen, and like the struggle that they're going through. And, you know, I feel lucky, my situation, that, I'm in a good space. Not everybody's has that. Not everybody is living in a house. Not everybody has, their kids can't go to the fridge and get whatever they want all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you see things like that, where it's like there's some things that are a bit of despair, those are situations that affect me more. And you wouldn't explain that to somebody like, that's really your job, or that's like, you give a shit about that. Like, you look in somebody's fridge. I'm like, yeah, I fucking do.
Oh yeah,
because it's going to paint a picture on
exactly
how are this elderly couple, are they making it happen? Like, they have a half an apple and a fucking piece of bread
and
in the
like
fridge.
some of the coolest things that I feel like I get to do, I think it's because I used to be an outreach worker too. So you kind of troubleshoot some problems for them. Like maybe they don't know how to use this new smartphone that their grandkid just gave them. They don't know how to look up their doctor anymore.
Yeah.
Or like you look in the fridge and they don't have it. Maybe they don't know about like Meals on Wheels, or some some places that have like half off bread the next day or whatever. Like just little things,
Sure.
urgent care center numbers. Like I'll sit down, I'll start writing things out for them, be like, here you go. Because sometimes they don't want to go to the hospital. Sometimes it's something like,
Right.
I fall, I can't get up. You get them up, they're not that hurt. But then, like you said, you look around, you look at the fridge, you look at the belongings, and you're like, you guys okay?
Yeah,
you know what I
could
mean?
use a
Like,
little assistance.
because no one's been in the home for years sometimes, and then
And
they
it's
call
just
us, and then we're there.
until
So,
something happens.
exactly.
You're not going to get seen.
So that's where I think that experience really does matter on the job, that you just get with the years in.
For sure.
Of just having that.
And like you said, the thing with them not going to the hospital is sort of a catch-22, because if you can get them to the hospital, then you can talk and say, there needs to be a social work situation involved, like an assessment or some conversation about giving the information that maybe they don't have.
You spoke a little bit about the time that you've been having off right now, and like PTSD and things like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how things have been going with you, and what that process is like right now?
I mean, it took a while because it's a work safe thing, so that it's a process, takes time. But for the past 3 weeks, I've actually been seeing a couple of therapists that WorkSafe has set up. One's named Alice and the other's named Audrey, and they're really cool.
Yeah.
And they're kind of helping me kind of process, because I feel like, and Danny would attest to this, that, maybe there's definitely been a change in me and how I've been able to be a bit more resilient back in the day. And we were always a great team of just like, whatever, and we would deal with stuff. But since my daughter Katrina died, I feel like I'm a little more delicate, and things like emotions kind of are there, and things can affect me more than they did before. And that's what I'm talking with my therapist about. She's trying to let me know that I'm not broken, that these things like having emotions, it's normal and healthy. Is it good for my career? I don't know. I do know that like I've got way less road in front of me than I do behind me, and that's just comes with age. But also too, I've got a shelf life for being a paramedic, and I feel like, we've been in this game we're working on 23 years. So is that going to be enough? Because I want to come back and I miss this guy so much. So I want to come back and work and feel okay about if something does come my way, and sort of cope a bit better because of it. Because we kind of ran into, it seemed like just a bad run over, like from April, we did a sort of a pretty rough trauma call with that family, and they got, and I don't want to really mention things specifically, a bad kid call, and then some other ones, and then, the one that happened when we left, the same thing, like a family member that passed and there was kids involved in that house. And like I just feel like those things resonate with me a lot harder. And so I'm trying to feel better about um, that and understanding my reaction to that, because I would get so emotional about it. And like I would say, like, and Danny's had to fucking be there. Like I feel so bad, but he's the one that's had to deal. And then I'd be like, I can't do anymore, and I would go home, and then he gets fucking moved to UBC or something like that. So he's the one that has to deal with my fallout, which doesn't help me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't.
It doesn't. I don't really like that. And then also too, like there's this weird, we don't like leaving our fucking people short. So if I leave, that means my car goes down, and then all the other people have to pick up my slack. So like all these things that kind of wear on you, and also too, I've been a worker since I'm 14. I haven't been working in 6 months. It's killing me.
Yeah.
To not work. So like I talk about that with my therapist, and I'm like, I got to get back, because I can't leave this job the way I did. So I need to come back, and however it's going to be, if we can work together for another year, 2 years maybe, or maybe I can suck it up and we can both retire at the same time.
And kind of finish it on your terms, right?
But I want it to be on my terms.
Yeah. Totally.
And she's, they're both helping me kind of understand my reaction to things. And, I think that it's not, like I said, I'm trying to work on my own sort of inner sort of verbal sort of stuff that I say to myself, that there's something wrong, or that I'm broken, or whatever it is. It's not that. It's just, it's an honest reaction to the situation.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something, at the beginning of our careers, there wasn't this thought at all. If you said PTSD, you'd be like, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. I remember them saying,
in the war?
Or just like, what did you think this job was about, is what they would say. They would throw it back at you like, well, of course it's not. Suck it up.
Oh my gosh.
You're just like,
somebody called
right?
Pierre and I back in the day after doing a baby situation. And because we didn't even, like, I think we missed the part of the shift, and then the next day I didn't go back in.
Okay.
And so she said, well, aren't you used to that?
Yeah, right.
And I just thought that, and I can remember Pierre saying, like, he hung up on her after she said something like that. Yeah. Like, I mean, sort of, you feel like it's a kick in the nuts. Like
for sure.
You're kind of dealing, and they have no sort of clue about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Danny? I feel like as I've been getting on in the job and the years, like I feel a little bit more raw than I had at the beginning. Like I am resilient, but I also feel like things can get to you a little bit more than they used to.
I always find that it's, going to these calls, it's not my emergency.
Right.
It's their emergency.
Yeah.
Try to deal with it, whatever has to be dealt with. The pediatric calls are always a little more, there's just something about them. Like, this kid's so young and innocent and hasn't lived a life yet, kind of thing.
Right.
So whatever's going on is usually seems a little worse. And those can, stay in your mind for a bit. But for me, eventually, it kind of fades away. Definitely, like, I've had some issues over time with, like, you dole out so much empathy to all these people that you don't even know. And then sometimes I get home, there's none left.
Yes.
And that can be, cause trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to work on that to, like, try to mellow it out, especially working in Surrey, because it's just so relentless with, like,
call after opioid crisis, after, COVID, after heat dome, was just like, no, this is just it's too much. I know.
Right. So then, we left Surrey to go to a quieter station in North Langley, which is just right next door to Surrey. So you still get sucked in there a lot, but it's just not quite as rampant. It's just
I think that, like, a phrase came out of it. It's called compassion fatigue.
Yes.
And, like, it's a real thing. And I'll tell you what, straight up, I'm not married anymore. And, like, is it because of this fucking job? Maybe.
Right.
This guy is a fucking champion. So strong. And like, it's a testament how good he is at dealing with shit, and that he's still got a good marriage, and he's fucking a family man. And like, it's a real thing that, like, honestly, I've never met anybody like him.
You guys are incredible. That's why I wanted you both on the podcast, man, because you're both. First, I asked you, and I'm like, I need to have Dan there, man.
Yeah, it makes me emotional to talk about it because of it.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah.
But he truly is. I use that phrase a lot. I like to describe people as champions. But he is he is truly a champion. Like, that's for real. Because this job's not easy. Like, I mean, people that think this is easy to go in and day out, and you're doing long hours, and you're fucking hungry, and you know, you're in the ambulance, and like, we're all tall, like we're 6 feet and taller. You're cramped in this thing. You don't have leg room. You know, it's not a good situation, and you do it day after day. And it used to be just 12 hours. When we started, overtime was a bit unheard of. It was unusual. Now it's rampant. It's not unusual to have every shift in your block being long. And it's like 12, 13 hours, 14 hours. And like, this is the norm. And I feel like, that's why I say my shelf life, I can tell that there's, you know, there is an end coming, and I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I'd like it to be all on my own terms, but who knows? And I've got to get back in the game, you know, and see. It's good that I still have connections with medics, because I hear about the things that they're still going to, and nothing changes. I recently reconnected with a medic that used to be here, and I'm talking with her about it, and she's like, nothing's changed. I'm like, no, it hasn't. It's exactly the same. All the calls, you know, frequent flyers are the same. You know, dealing with people that are been drinking or doing drugs, people that are assholes to us, like dealing with that, people that are rude, people that treat people like shit, you know, frustrations at the hospital. And then on top of that, you have to deal with situations where then, like Danny said, like you're expected to feel bad for people, and there's only so much that you can feel bad about. And like, I have snapped at people that I like. If you're rude, you know, expect some shade. Like, I mean, I don't really tolerate people that are rude. A major deal breaker for me is if you spit in my ambulance. That really sends me off. That's a thing that's like so disrespectful, right? So, you know, the people that we see, some of them are very frustrating, and they're frequent flyers that we see so much, and like, we know all their personal information. You know, there have been people that we've seen that I knew their care card numbers. I don't even know mine, but I knew theirs because we would see them so much. And then there's, you know, another person in Surrey that's sort of this guy that just is like a bit of trouble all the time. And like, he's been a guy that's abused the system so much, and we've had to deal with them, and we've been there so many times. And you just deal with these people where it's like, they just abuse you to the point of absolute frustration, where it's just like, can't you just appreciate what we're trying to do here, and not like,
can't keep it together,
call us out? Can't you keep it together? It's a great job, don't get me wrong. Being a paramedic is really great, and I had no idea getting into it, and I love the job, and I feel like, you know, I've excelled at it, and the training, and from where I started. I would love to go back and work a shift with me brand new in Boston Bar, because, you know, I was this intimidated little thing, and I'm sure I would come in like a fucking wrecking ball and just be like, listen here, sonny boy, and we would just do whatever. It would be great to do that. But I feel like throughout the career, like, you kind of develop something, and it's been really good. I wouldn't regret getting involved in this job. You know, like I said, I've gotten to work with some of the greatest people ever, and I'm going to finish my career working with the greatest guy I know. So whatever way that pans out, time-wise, I don't know, but I know that for sure.
Well, it's a good segue for like my last question. I'm kind of ask all of us, ask myself this question. Like, what would you say to a new, paramedic thinking about getting in, or that's just starting out? Like, what kind of advice would you give somebody who's just starting out?
I mean, whatever you've done in your life up to that point is probably, it's going to be helpful for going on. But I mean, you're going to deal with every situation. Situations you didn't even think were possible are going to happen. You're going to deal with every age range of person, from like preterm babies to someone's 110, every socioeconomic group of people.
Yeah.
And you're going to go into these people's lives because they're, for the most part, inviting you into their world at some point because they need the help. But you just have to be able to kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And like build a good practice for yourself about how you're going to manage it. And especially now, because, when I first started, there was call volume, but now there's real call volume.
Yeah.
There is more resources, more avenues, different ways the ambulance, can do the calls. There's X-ray units for calls we don't deal with anymore. There's transfer cards to deal with the transfers. S&T does transfers. We don't have to deal with those calls anymore. But just the emerge calls just ramp up and up and up and up. And not all of them are, it's not all big glory days of big traumas, big medicals, doing tons of procedures. There's lots of just like going in and talking to a person and figuring out, okay, what's going on? It's not that bad. These are some things we can, avenues to try to help you out with, or, just options. A lot of it's just listening to the people and what their problem is. They're trying to you're just problem solver. Like the whole time you're just trying to solve problems.
I remember this old JI instructor at the beginning in school. He told me, treat everybody you would a friend or a family member, and that'll always steer you in the right direction.
Right.
And that's always stuck with me.
Right.
Because it's true. Like, you would never screw over a friend or a family member.
Right.
If they were mad and in a bad day, well, you know what, they're usually not in that frame of mind. So ignore that.
Right.
Do the right thing for them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Right.
Like,
so that always got me doing the right move, decisions.
People won't remember, the big treatment's like, oh man, they gave me Ventolin,
right,
and then they did this, and then they did that, and they did that. They'll remember how you treated them. So if you treat them nice, they'll remember that. They won't remember anything else.
Yeah.
But if you say, man, you're an idiot, well, they're going to remember that and not remember all the good things you did to help them. So,
right.
And I find it's just easier to be nice to people. It just gets you further.
Yeah.
It makes the calls easier.
And I feel like there's a carryover there too, where the family member talks about how good the paramedics made them feel to their family members, or just their friends that are around. And I think that's sometimes what happens. Like, I've been driving like on Highway 1, and a car's kind of beside me and kind of wondering what he's doing. I looked over and he's kind of just doing like one of these, or someone I'm at a red light and I look over and someone's standing there on the sidewalk and they just do like a heart with their hands, right? It's because they're recognizing that you're doing a job that's super important, and
I'm so appreciative of that.
Really
we
appreciative.
Don't really run into that a lot, but some people have gone out of their way
100%.
to like, acknowledge that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference to me for sure. It's a small gesture, but a big gesture, I find. As well,
I think that, starting off in this job, you're sort of wide-eyed. You're thinking, oh, everything's like this holy shit moment.
Yeah.
And like Danny said, it's not. Like, there's so many things that kind of come up.
Yeah.
It's not like, I think the tough thing is, and as medics that have experience, we know that what's kind of going on isn't truly an emergency.
Right.
But they don't know that. They've called because they think it's an emergency.
Right.
So going in knowing that, and just listening honestly to them, what they're saying.
Talking people off the ledge.
Right.
And saying well, let's take you up to the hospital and they can check you out and do a few more tests that we can't do.
Right.
As simple as that. When you get to the hospital, a warm blanket goes a fucking long ways.
Right.
Yeah.
So just being nice, like Danny said, being nice to people, nothing will test your mettle quicker than at 4 a.m. and you've been running off your feet, and you go to, and it's somebody not being nice or whatever. In the face of that, if you can still manage to be a good person to that asshole or to somebody that's not being nice,
right,
then you're way ahead of the game. Because as somebody new into the service, you're gonna have questions, you're gonna have doubts. You're not gonna get to do 10 cardiac arrests in a row, because you know what? That last cardiac arrest, you'd be killing it. You would have everything done perfectly. But if you only do 1 cardiac arrest a month, you're gonna be like, oh man, I didn't think to do this, or I didn't do this on time, or I'm second guessing this. And that's the way it is on every call, because you don't get to do the same call over and over and over again. And there's 10 ways to do a call.
Yeah.
The end game can always be the same. Take them to the hospital. But you can treat somebody and say maybe you're not having the best day, and you go off and you say something, and then that turns the call into something a little different, a different path, as opposed to, oh, this crew went in there and was just nice and respectful, and they got their jacket and walked out to the ambulance and went. This crew went in there and something was said and the police had to get involved. It went sort of dark.
Yeah.
There's a ton of different ways that things can pan out, and it's all about trying to find that path on your own as a new medic, because you don't have that skill right off the hop.
Yeah.
That's right.
And when I started
develops.
as ER-reg, and you work with a lot of different people, a lot of different places. Right. And I'd work with people on the shift, and it's like, okay, I'm new. This person's more experienced than me.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did somewhere, it's like, oh man, that really worked out. I like how that happened. I would adopt it.
That's
and if they did somewhere, it's like, oh, that didn't work out. Don't say that.
That's right.
I'm not going to do that. Right.
That's
So you
right.
kind of build off other people, more experienced people.
100%.
I think that's a lost thing now, because the way that sort of system's working now, you get hired right into full time. You're not going through the stuff we did, being part-time and then E-reg and then a reg spot. You're hired in the service as a full-time E-reg or even a full-time reg member. So you don't have that experience of working with people. You're it. And now you better, it's accelerated. You better figure it out.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have a lot of time to do it.
I like it when I work with someone new that is open to learning and recognizing they don't know everything. So
you don't know.
Hey, do you have any tips for me? Sure.
I think that's as somebody that's new, that's don't come in cock of the walk like I've got this.
Yeah.
Be humble, because you don't, and you haven't done all the calls. So just kind of be a bit respectful about it.
Exactly.
It goes both ways too. An ALS friend of mine said the phrase, don't step on a wagging tail.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody that's new, you don't want to crush that new spirit. And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
This service is for the young. I'm ready to hand the torch for sure. And I give props to these kids that are coming in their, early 20s, and they're doing this job. And I hope that they have long careers or are happy whatever it ends. And however it works out.
Right.
But I think that it's a job that you can learn and develop your own style for how you do calls, how you interact with people. Does it force it out of you? Because if you're not someone that likes talking to people and you're attending, you're going to get stuck sometimes, because you're going to run into somebody that's well, they don't want to talk to you really. So you have to try to glean some information. You have to get some kind of something out of it other than fuck you, because that's maybe all they're going to give you, and you don't know what's going on with them. Yeah. And they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
So
sometimes they'll just turn to the partner and be like, anything you want to add?
Yeah. Is there something you can think of?
A few thoughts, right?
That's right.
Oh, man. Guys, thank you so much for your wisdom today. I loved having you on the podcast. It's been such a blast,
man.
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
Pleasure.
It's great for sure.
I loved it. Thank you again. I know driving out. Well, actually, the time of day is not so bad. But, we've been talking so long that the sun's setting, for crying out loud outside here.
Well, I was worried that we blocked for your wife do?
Oh, you know what I did? I moved the van onto the street.
Oh, you did?
I anticipated.
Smart.
Yeah, I anticipated this.
Because I was like, oh no, does she have to walk to get the kids now?
No.
We blocked your cars in. And I hope Peaches comes back home.
Yeah. For those not understanding what we're talking about, my cat is named Peaches, and he escaped when Danny came in, and I'm pretty sure he's still outside, and we're worried out because he got in a fight with a raccoon. Yeah, he'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Yeah, when it's dinner time, he'll be like, okay, I got to get some grub.
Yeah.
And it's cold out here.
Well, brothers, it's the holidays. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, right. Merry Christmas to you and your family, man.
Thank you,
for
man.
Sure. It's awesome. Thank you for doing this. I love that you do this podcast. Keep doing it.
Okay, I will.
Keep doing it because it's cool.
I will. Thanks, man.
Maybe get some better guests on them.
Hey everyone, Mike from GLADYS Patches here. Coming up next is our latest single, 6 Seconds, from our Sessions EP, which is available on all streaming platforms. Tracks recorded back in 2003, 2004. Never really did anything with them. We sort of locked them away and they were just kind of sitting there. Anyways, we found them recently and decided to polish them up and unleash them on the world, so to speak. So right now, you're about to hear 6 Seconds from that release, and that's coming up next on the 331 podcast.
6 seconds with my hands around my throat again. I'll tell you everything, but I don't want to be the one that burns up in the end. I'll hold my breath until you tell me that it's time to leave. I finally understand that this is just a plan designed for what I want to be. And all in time you'll see through the disguise. So wrong. I never felt so silent and alone. Followed. All the emptiness will keep me strong. Yeah. 6 seconds till I put my back against the wall. I hear you screaming and I know you're still believing you can save me from the fall. And all in time you'll see it in my eyes. So wrong. I never felt so silent and alone. Followed. All the emptiness will keep me strong. So wrong. So wrong. I never felt so silent and alone. Followed. All the emptiness will keep me alone.
Oh my gosh, what a freaking awesome song that is. That was 6 Seconds by GLADYS Patches. Thank you, Mike, for the intro. Mike plays guitar in the band, just in case you were wondering. All right, that's the end of the episode. If you liked it, please drop me a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, Kent and Dan. Special thanks to Unwritten Stories and Cast of Characters for the podcast music. New episodes come out every 3 weeks. Thanks for listening, and Happy New Year, everybody! Woo!